have with me Dr. Nicole Phillip, who has a PhD in history from the University of West Indies, and she's also a senior lecturer at the T.A. Marichaud Community College. Now, Doc, don't mind me calling you Doc. It's good to see you now. Yes. You've actually been on the program before.
Yes, I have.
And I could never forget that interview. I must really share that interview with our viewers again, you know, because it was all about history
and independence.
And it was a really good interview. It's one of those interviews that stuck in the minds of a lot of the folks that actually saw the program. Okay. So it's good to see you again. It's good to have you back. And big thank you. You know what that is for.
Yes.
But welcome, and if I must say, happy International Women's Day.
And same to you, my dear.
Your ribbon actually signifies...
Yes, I was given it this morning when I got into work.
Oh, well, this one signifies awareness of global warming.
Okay.
By the lovely ladies of St. Joseph's Convent. Well, welcome to the program. I'm glad you're here today because, you know, I felt compelled to do something a little on women today, just marking International Women's Day. And I know you have a really great book, which I would love to have in my hand right now. Right. And this is the book I made mention of, folks, earlier, prior to the program kicking off. Women in Grenadian History, 1783 to 1983. First off, Dr. Phillip, tell me a little bit about this book. What made you want to do this book, to write this book, sorry?
The inspiration came from my final year at UWI. We did a course called Women in the Caribbean, with emphasis on the British Caribbean. And after doing that course, I realized that there was so much that we didn't know about our foremothers. And I thought probably I needed to do something on women in Grenada, because nothing had been done up to that point. So that was basically the inspiration to do that. That's basically what piqued my interest. Yeah. Then it came to doing my PhD, and it was what topic to choose, and that seemed to be the best possible topic. Oh, yes. Yeah. So that's basically why I started on that project.
Great. What does it mean to you personally to celebrate International Women's Day?
I think it's a celebration of the achievements of women. In the past, women have had a very difficult journey. Even the word history speaks of his story. So we're trying to speak about her story. Oh, yes. And we realized that women didn't just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. They were not just apathetic observers of history. They took an active role in history, and it needs to be highlighted. And some women come to the forefront. You think of Grenada, and the first thing you think of probably maybe Dame Hilda Bino as the first governor. These are some of the names that jump out at you. Oh, yeah. But there were so many unsung heroes. Yes, so many women who were estate workers, domestic servants, who basically went to work every day, but made it a point of sending their children to school, something that they did not necessarily have. So these are some of the things that we need to be aware of, and some of the things that we need to celebrate.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You just mentioned Dame Hilda Bino, and yes, I am one of those people who, you know, I was just going through some stuff yesterday and trying to come up with some names, and that's one of the names that jumped out. Yes. But I do agree with you fully with the whole saying that, you know, there's so much unsung heroes. Yes. I mean, I think, you know, I just thought about, just at the spur of the moment, Mrs. Antoine.
Mrs. Antoine from
the school teacher
at Happy. She lives at Happy Hill.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You know, she just sprang into my mind.
Yes.
You know, and these are the type of people who, you know,
they've given so much to the community.
So much.
Yes,
anti-tech.
Oh yes. Oh yes. They've given a lot to the community.
I want you to. I'm going to make mention of a couple of names that I have on a list here. Okay. And I would love for you to say something about them because I believe they're part of your publication.
Yes.
First name, Giuliana Aird.
Giuliana was actually born in 1911, and she is one of the unsung heroes. Not much is known of her. she was one of those persons who decided that staying in Grenada was not necessarily the best option at a particular point in her life. So she did what I call voted with her feet. She migrated, went in search of jobs. She went to St. Vincent, and she was actually cutting canes in St. Vincent. She actually cleaned the tanks in St. Vincent. And the money that she got, she saved it. And one of the things that she said was, I am going to be somebody. She returned to Grenada, and she became the first woman to actually run a foreign car company, Volkswagen.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And one of the first women to have her license, for that matter, and to drive.
Yeah. Oh.
And by 1972, she was a Justice of the Peace. Yes.
Now that's a woman with a plan.
Yes,
And
definitely.
she followed her
She followed her plan. Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
How did you get all this information, Dr. Phillip?
Let's see.
Years of research.
Years of research. Because the book is actually my PhD thesis that I have turned into a book.
Of course.
So it's been a lot of years of research and writing. The women, the stories in the book came from over 50 interviews with women from Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, getting their ideas of what their life was like. Yes. So it was actually the nicest part for me.
Yeah.
Is actually interviewing the women. You hear such wonderful stories, and sometimes I'm thinking I need to put everything in there, but of course it's not possible.
Right.
But this story, they have such fantastic stories of their life and basically how they lived and how they managed.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another person, someone who I knew for a short period of time, Gertrude Protein.
Gertrude. She was a love.
What an elegant lady
very
she
much
was.
So. Very, very much so.
Oh my goodness.
I think she's associated a lot with the Board of Tourism because she would have worked there for many years. One of the things that is least known about her was that she was the first woman to be appointed to the Legislative Council at the time. And she was very forward-thinking. One of the things she did was to ask for or move a motion that there should be a scholarship for girls into secondary schools, because the scholarships that were available were only for boys. There were no scholarships for girls at the time. So she was asking that girls be given an opportunity, a specific scholarship for girls going into secondary school. And this is 1960. But her motion was denied, unfortunately. But the fact that she was forward thinking enough to realize that there's need for women to get higher education, I think is to be really commended.
Of course,
yes.
of course.
Yes.
I think for me as a little girl, because I mentioned she was so elegant, you know, she was always well dressed,
Very
and,
much so.
you know, very eloquent, and
Yes.
you know, I'm like, wow, I want to be just like
her.
that. Because you know, here is this woman in her well into her 70s,
Yes.
80s, I believe, and everything was still intact.
Very
you know?
much so.
Everything was still
Very
intact.
much so.
Wow.
Very much so.
Now, this is a name I have to say I am not. There are a few names here that I'm not used to, and this is another one that I'm not used to. Nadia Benjamin.
Okay. The Nadia Benjamin and, well, her colleague, Wapel Ned, they're both from Grenville, and these two women worked tirelessly in the community. And they were recognized by Sir Eric Gairy, and they became members of the GULP and became the first female parliamentary secretaries in education and social development and so on. Wapel unfortunately has passed on, but Nadia is alive and well.
She
and
is?
Yes, she is. She owns a store in Grenville.
How old is she?
She should be in her 80s.
Wow.
Yes, but she's up and about and alive and well.
Good.
And always very well put together, may I add. Yes. So these two women would have been trailblazers in the politics of the time. They were parliamentary secretaries in GULP, and then Cynthia Gairy, who was Gary's wife, became the first female minister of government in Grenada. Yeah. So these were the trailblazers in politics of the time. Yes.
Yeah. Now, a name that I do know, and I remember, well, I think her name became known to me after the whole U.S. intervention, invasion, whatever
Yes.
term they prefer to use, or
yes.
prefer us to use. Decima Williams.
Yes. Decima would have been one of the women that would have been featured in the book in the period of the revolution, 79 to 83. She is one of those dynamic women who would always be looking to make life better for her community.
Yeah.
During the process, she was the representative to the OAS, and again, a first for Grenada in having a female in that capacity.
Oh, yeah.
And now she is blazing a trail for us.
She's back at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
For small islands with the whole issue of climate change and global warming, she's at the she's at the forefront of that for small states.
Good.
So again, blazing the trail.
Blazing the trail.
Yes.
Would you be able to speak on Jacqueline Craft, the late Jacqueline Craft?
Yes. Jacqueline again would have been one of the women featured in the 79 to 83 period. She was the minister of education at the time. And for persons who would have worked with her and so on, again, someone who saw the education of women as being pivotal to the movement of society. I think she would have understood that women, as being the main caregivers, they need to be educated because you would like children to get that early exposure to education, and she basically understood that.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
definitely.
Would you